Null Island is the point on Earth that is 0 degrees latitude and 0 degrees longitude. On a traditional two-dimensional map, this is pretty much the center of Earth. It is where the equator meets prime meridian. This point is off the coast of Africa in the Gulf of Guinea, south of Ghana and west of Gabon and Sao Tome and Principe. Although named Null Island, there unfortunately isn't actually an island there, but instead a permanently moored weather buoy. If you were to travel directly north of this point, you'd eventually hit the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, London, which signifies the arbitrary line that splits our planet into two. East of this line is the Eastern Hemisphere and west the Western Hemisphere. If you were to travel a further 3,000 kilometers north and slightly east of London, you'd end up in Longyearbyen, which is the world's most northernmost settlement with a population greater than 1,000. Longyearbyen is found on Spitsbergen Island in Norway's Svalbard archipelago. What makes this settlement one of the most interesting places on Earth is that it has no native population, along with the entire region of Svalbard. Everyone that lives there is from outside of the region, because women are not allowed to give birth here. Due to the remote location, a few weeks before their due date, women are obliged to go to mainland Norway to have their babies. But why is this? Well, quite simply, the health centres there do not have the capacity for live births. The same applies for dying too. You are literally not allowed to die in this region at all. This is again due to the lack of facilities based there. The extreme cold means bodies would literally freeze and not decompose. But anyway, on a lighter note, across this entire region there are estimated to be around 3,000 polar bears, meaning they outnumber humans. Yikes. The world's most northern large city is kind of disputed, as there is no official understanding for what a large city is. Some sources may say a city with over 1 million population. But this causes the next problem. Which city measurement is this? City proper, metro, or urban? If we go by metro population, then Helsinki would be the world's most northern large city. Its population is around 1.3 million. Edmonton in Alberta, Canada is another very northern large city. Although found slightly further south than Helsinki, its metro population is around 1.5 million. But if we go by the actual city proper population, that excludes metro and urban areas, then St. Petersburg in Russia will be the world's most northern large city. It is found ever so slightly more southern than Helsinki, but has a population much larger, at some 5.6 million. This makes it Russia's second most populated city and the fourth most populated in Europe by this measurement. Including non-permanently inhabited settlements, the most northern settlement ever is Camp Barneo. The camp is a private temporary tourist resort located on the Arctic Ocean ice near the North Pole. It is occupied for a few weeks in April, making it the most northernmost inhabited place in the world. It was established in 2002 and reoccupied annually thereafter, but the site has remained vacant since 2018. When it does operate, the price to visit is about $20,000 US. Puerto Williams in Chile is the southernmost inhabited settlement on Earth. It has a population of around 2,800. It is not just a city but a naval base too. Its population consists of both naval personnel and civilians. The distance from this city to Putre, one of Chile's most northern towns, is 4,000 kilometers as the crow flies, or 5,600 kilometers if you were to drive, which according to Google Maps would require 90 hours of driving. In fact, the top 50 most southern settlements with a population over 1,000 all belong to Chile, Argentina, or New Zealand. But what is the most southern city in the world with a population greater than 1 million? Well, it's a city that absolutely smashes the 1 million mark. Can you guess which city it is? I'll give you a clue. It's in Australia. It is Melbourne, whose population is around 5 million. And due to a technicality, is actually now Australia's most populated city. This is because the borders of the city were redrawn to include another district, meaning it is now more populated than Sydney. This also means that nearly 20% of the entire country lives within this one city's boundaries. Some other cities that are found far south and have a population greater than 100,000 are Hobart of Tasmania, Dunedin, Christchurch and Wellington of New Zealand, as well as another dozen or so across Argentina and Chile. El Alto is considered to be the world's highest large city. Its population is said to be around 1 million, with the city lying 4,150 meters high. That's around 47% the height of Mount Everest, meaning many people would struggle with altitude sickness being in this city, as altitude sickness generally starts around the 2,500 meters mark. The majority of cities with a population over 100,000 that are found high up are found in South America, with Bolivia, Peru, Cambodia and Ecuador dominating the list. There's also a couple of cities from China too. Mexico City is the most populated city found above the 2,000 meter mark, followed by Kunming in China, Bogota in Colombia, and then Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. At 3,600 meters high, La Paz of Bolivia is the world's highest capital city. The most remote city with a population exceeding 1 million from the nearest city of a similar size is Auckland, New Zealand to Sydney, Australia, with a distance of around 2,200 kilometers. For cities with a population exceeding 1 million from the nearest city with a population exceeding 100,000, Perth, Australia takes the title. Perth is located 2,130 kilometers from Adelaide, Australia. However, if we consider all cities with a population greater than 100,000, the most remote city from its nearest counterpart is Honolulu to San Francisco, with a distance of nearly 3,900 kilometers. At around 2,300 kilometers away, Wellington of New Zealand and Canberra of Australia set the record for the most distant capital cities. When it comes to the two most distant large cities belonging to one country, it's a little tricky. But if we exclude overseas territories and just stick to the country's contiguous land, here are some of the most distant. So New York City to Los Angeles is almost 4,000 kilometers in distance. This stretches from the US's southwest coast all the way up to its northeastern. Cape Town to Johannesburg is around 1,200 kilometers. Beijing to Shanghai is over 1,000. Lahore to Karachi is also just over 1,000. And Kinshasa in the DR Congo is some 1,500 kilometers away from Lubumbashi, the country's first and second most populated cities. But if we include all towns and cities, regardless of whether they are large or not, then Russia takes the win. As Baltisk, the westernmost town in Russia, is found some 6,500 kilometers away from its most eastern town. So there we have it, some of the most extreme cities from around the world. If you can think of any other examples, perhaps you even live in one of these cities, then please do let us know in the comments below. As always, we hope you enjoyed and we'll see you very soon in our next video.